Hello and welcome, dear viewers. I would first like to say thank you for joining the channel and enjoying my wonderful reviews. Secondly, I would like to say, and be completely honest, Arken did send this optic in for review. They were gracious enough to reach out to me after I did their 6-24 review, and they loved it. And I appreciate them for that, because they are the first company to get in touch with me on anything. Anyway, I'm not going to sit here and bullshit you and say, hey, this is a great scope only because they sent it in. I'm going to tell you it's a great scope if it's a great scope. And whatever shortcomings it has, I'm going to tell you about it. Because there's a couple of people out there that think, oh, just because a company sends you something, you're going to be a shill and you're going to do whatever they want you to do. I know I'm not like that. But instead of me telling you that, let me show you that. So without further ado, let's get started, shall we? A very big thank you goes out to Arken for sending me in this Gen 2 SH-4 4-16x50. This is, as you can see, a first focal plane scope featuring the VPR reticle. It is illuminated, and this is in mil. If you'd like to find out more of the specs on this scope, check out my unboxing of either the 6-24 or my reprise with this scope as well. Just like the 6-24, this 4-16 has one weak feature, the illumination. It's not that bright, but if you're using it in very dark environments, you will be thankful that it's there. It does illuminate just the center dot and the crosshair, which I personally like because it doesn't take your eye too much off of anything else. Honestly though, what can you really expect for $450? It's got to be weak somewhere, and I'm kind of glad it's the illumination. Even though there is a version that Arken sells that is non-illuminated with Japanese glass, which I can't wait to get my hands on, because if it's anything like this or the Big Brother 6-24, it's going to look absolutely fantastic. As you can see, this reticle lines up basically perfect. It's phenomenal. Illumination, that's as good as you're going to get. If you're expecting any more illumination than this, you're going to have to look elsewhere. For this particular style scope, it's not the end of the world for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 5 down, 4 over, and it looks like it's lining up perfect. Let's reset this windage. Again, no problems. And let's give it 5 more, shall we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there you have it. The 6-24 that I had reviewed was about 1.5% off, which is about 0.15 of a mil. So this 4-16 absolutely redeems it and shows that you can see it is well within half a click at 10 mils of elevation gain. Let's reset this to 0. Perfect. Let's give it 10 more mils. 8 plus 2. And that's as good as you're ever going to get. Like I had said, the 6-24 review that I did with the slight tracking issue was the whole reason why Arken reached out to me in the first place to see if I wanted to have my scope sent in to get checked out. I told him, honestly, it's okay because 1.5% isn't the end of the world for me, but this thing is perfect. The turrets feel absolutely fantastic, and as you've seen, it tracks flawlessly. So far, with the exception of the illumination, everything is on par to being really good. If you're wondering what the side focus is, the minimum focus distance is 25 yards. So if you're using this scope for rimfire like I would be doing for most of it more than likely, you know that you can get this thing to focus down really nice and close. Here at 30 yards at 4x, it's not even a concern whatsoever. The image looks so far really good. As we take it up to its maximum magnification at 16x, there's zero issues as far as eyebox shift or brightness to the overall image. Granted, it is a very bright sunny day with not a cloud to be seen, but as we adjust the side focus, you see that the image comes razor sharp. Everything looks good so far. You can even read the Made in the USA. But now let's pan across the top of this pole, shall we? Again, you're not going to see any sort of issues such as chromatic aberration, and you can see those little, I think they're bees, flying around with relative ease. A bee at 30 yards is a pretty small object, so being able to see it is awesome, as opposed to the illumination, which, as you just didn't see, was on full. As you can also probably tell, I have no throw lever on this scope as of right now, which is the whole reason why I purchased one from Arken Direct, because it's a real pain in the butt to do so without one. At 4x, there's no real distortion to the glass. It gives you a nice flat image. We now focus our attention to the 400-yard elevator room. I really wish someone would prune that tree a little bit so we could focus on the door, because I really enjoyed that. It gave you a really good sense of scale, as well as a nice fine aiming point on the doorknob. But here at 16x, as you can see, those bricks are as clear as day. Image is fantastic, and you can see some mirage in the air. There's zero chromatic aberration on this bright sunny day, and everything is as sharp as you could possibly hope for from a $450 optic. I actually have several scopes in this magnification range here on the channel that I've either reviewed or are going to review, or continuing to review, I should say. And they're all within the same spec, 34mm tube with a 50 or 56mm front objective. And I have to say, this punches right with them, and every single one that I have is at least twice the price of this thing. So when you read reviews and watch other videos where they say, oh, well, this thing is like a $2,000 optic. It's not like a $2,000 optic, but its glass clarity and performance so far is really close to what I would consider a $1,000, $1,500 optic to be. And I can tell you that, but I'd much rather show you that, you know. Pulling the focus back, we focus on the 30-yard power lines, and they are perfect. Pushing it back to the 800-yard power towers, and again, what more do you need? It looks sensational. Granted, I'm never going to shoot this out to 800 yards, but a 320-yard shot with a 22 LR at 17 mils of elevation is tricky enough, which we're going to look at in a little bit. But for right now, everything looks absolutely stunning. But see, I'm going to be putting this on a purpose. I want to use it for a little bit of hunting and a little bit of tactical. How does it work in low light? Well, here you go. It's about 7:38 p.m. end of August. Sun's already well over the horizon, and at 4x, through the naked eye, it's at least as bright as it is outside with ambient light. And I'm also very happy to report the illumination is a little bit more visible. So if you're taking a shot on a dark background, the reticle will pop up enough that you can see it. As we increase the magnification all the way up to 16x, did you see if the image got darker? Not really. And that's why I like these 4x magnification ranges. It doesn't push the glass to the point where you're going to have any sort of real optical distortion or problems. Yeah, it might not be a 3:20 or something along those lines with extreme ends, but it's functional from minimum to maximum magnification, and it's going to give you every inch it can give you. This thing is superb. Not because it's a $450 optic, but because it works. It just simply works. But see, I'm going to be putting this on my 6.5 Creedmoor and shooting out to 1,000 yards. I need to know that it's going to give me absolute resolution at that distance. Well, here we are at 1,000 yards. Everything looks fantastic. This thing looks better than some optics that have twice the price tag on it that I've reviewed. Yeah, some of them are still better than this, a la Razor HD, but this is absolutely fantastic. I'm about to add 10 mils of elevation like I always do, and we're going to see if we have any sort of optical distortion. 10 mils at about 1,000 yards is roughly what you'd use for a 308 depending on many variables, but dialed up 10 mils, and is there really any sort of optical difference? No. The mirage might be giving us a bit of a headache, but other than that, the image looks absolutely sensational. There's no distortion at the edges, there's no sort of shadowing issues, no chromatic aberration, even with 10 mils added to it. It just works. All right, moving on to my home away from home. What do we have here? Well, we're at the 50-yard line, obviously. And to the keen viewer, we added a tool, a very useful tool, a throw lever. The Arken throw lever, no less, which if you haven't seen the review on, go check it out, because for the price, if you're buying it by itself, is a very excellent throw lever. But if you buy it with the Precision Pack by itself, the Precision Pack is like $70, but if you buy the Precision Pack with the scope, it's half price. It's only like $35, which is basically the price of the throw lever. So if you're buying one of these through the affiliate links in the description, throw on a Precision Pack because it's well worth it. Here at 50 yards, we zoom into this very shot up precision bench target. And you can see there's a lot of holes on that paper, but you can see every single hole. 50 yards, 22 LR, tiny, tiny little bullet, and 16x is more than enough for you to basically call on every single shot that you've made. I know a lot of people would prefer a little bit more magnification for even bench shooting, but they offer the 6-24 if you really want to go that far, which my friend N did, and he loves his 6-24. Anyway, a 4-16 is for me a really good magnification for a practical style shoot, and I would shoot precision with this. I prefer shooting with a little bit less magnification because it doesn't magnify all the movements and all the imperfections that I have behind the gun. On to the all-important Eyebox test. Granted, for a scope like this, you're not really going to be overly worried about having a large forgiving Eyebox, but this at 4x has a very easy Eyebox to get behind. It seems like even if you're in an awkward position, you can get behind the gun, whether it's on a bench, in the prone, on a barricade, and you're still going to be able to get behind it and look through it very quickly. Bumping the magnification up to 8x, it gets a little bit tighter, which is to be considered and accepted, but it's still, again, pretty easy to get behind. Illumination I had on full here, but you just can't see it in even slightly bright conditions. Maximum magnification here at 16x, and it's tight. There's no other way around it. Nothing's ever going to be super open at this magnification range, but it's still pretty easy to get behind. I'm going to say that's because of the 34mm tube, the 50mm front objective, and the lower overall magnification. On to the Largebore range, starting at 100, going back to 200, and then finishing up at 300, with a little bit of 200 and some odd in between. We focus our attention at the 100-yard RSO paper targets, and it was an extremely bright sunny day with intermittent, very thick clouds, so it played around with the overall brightness settings of my camera a lot. Putting it in manual mode, it was kind of hard to stay on top of it to get the perfect image all the time. So as a result, sometimes it might look washed out, other times it might look a little dark. Despite the image being washed out, you can still easily make out the X9 and 8 ring on the 100-yard paper targets. Going back to the 180-yard berm, we focus in on a bowling pin, along with a lot of really beat-up metal that's just strewn across this brown mulch that just blends everything in together. It's a good testament of any scope to see if you could even pick up most of the steel that they have on that brown mulch. This does a very good job of picking that up. We pan across the desolate wasteland that is the 100-yard steel berm, and we focus our attention on a nice little small gong at the 200-yard line, all the way to the far left edge of the paper targets. There you can have a beautiful view of the 200-yard paper targets to see that you can count all the rings in there, while my friend N shoots at that small gong with a 22 LR. Easy enough to pick up the hits, easy enough to check the movement. Of course, we can't really tell about misses, but that's only because we have nothing to really correlate that to. It's a big drop off behind where that steel plate is, so the bullet just sort of disappears into nothingness. But between a 223 and a 22 LR, picking up hits on that little 200-yard steel plate is fairly easy. Alright, enough of that. Let's bump this out a little bit farther. We're In my case, as far as we can shoot at this range, which is around 320 or so yards, there just so happens to be about a 3 or 4 inch steel gong all the way out into the middle of the woods. Fortunately, that they painted nice and orange, so you can clearly see when you get a hit or not. It's also a lot easier to see when you're looking through it on a dark, cloudy day. The clouds are just starting to come in, so I had to bump up the camera settings a little bit so we can see exactly what was going on a little bit easier. As you can see, we actually have 2 steel targets today, which is surprising enough because there's usually only one. A 3 or 4 inch gong on the left and about a 6 inch gong on the right, both of which are extremely easy with a precision 223 at 320 yards. But enough about the shooting, let's talk about what we see. You see basically everything. You see the bolts holding the plate to the chain. You see the chain itself. You see the top tubes and how screwed up they are because they're only steel conduit. They're nothing fancy to hold up to a friggin' fast-moving projectile. It's going to obliterate all over them. And that's why you have targets that fall down all the time. But I'm ranting on that. No one needs to hear that. What you need to hear is nothing, because you're seeing everything that I need you to see. The scope looks absolutely fantastic. There's zero issues optically at this distance, even with these really dark clouds that we have coming over in really dark shadows onto that tree line. It's just a really good image. I'm not lying to you. You can see it for yourself. I've been shooting my 22 LR at this the entire time, and in my last shot right now, you can see some splash just above the red target. And if you're wondering about the illumination, I completely forgot to even test that out. So here you go. Even with some decent cloud coverage in shadows under dark canopy, you can still see just enough of the illumination to make it count. Keep that in mind. Anyway, pew. Pew. Pew pew. Pew pew. And pew pew. 22 LR at 200 yards. If you've never done it before, you have no idea what you're missing out on. It's fucking hilarious. Ah, what is this? A new locale? Why, yes it is. It's actually someone very, very close to me. And I'm going to make you guess who it is. Or you don't have to guess, because none of you probably give a shit. Anyway, the first fence we're taking a look at is about 140 meters away. The white fence behind that's about 190. Then we're going to go across the street and we're going to look at a top fence with a gate which is about 440, and then the power tower which is about 500 meters away. I'm going to let this just sort of unfold, a little bit of ambiance, to just let you soak in the sights, sounds, and relax just a little bit. Of course, the horses are only there for scale. It's not on a gun. For anyone that thinks that it's on a gun, I can't help you have a brain that works properly. It's basically a scope on a stick. It's early evening. The sun has set. Dinner is just about to be served. Illumination shines bright. That's how you know it's dark. Image still looks fantastic. So there you have it. The Arken SH-4 Gen 2 4 to 16 by 50 with the VPR reticle in mils is a fantastic scope. But you must be wondering, where's the cost savings in this? Well, they're made overseas in China. That's to be expected. Another thing is the finish. As you can see, I've got some light witness marks on the anodizing already, a couple different brands of mounts, and I've never had this happen before on any other optic. So the anodizing isn't really up to par. But this doesn't overly concern me, because there's no damage to the tube itself, just the finish, and it's only just a witness mark. You save a little bit of money there, you save a little bit of money going overseas, and at the end of the day, Arken's able to make a product that comes to you at a very reasonable price. There's only one variable with this, which we'll touch on in a little bit. First, let's talk about the weight. 37 3/4 ounces might seem like a lot of weight, including a throw lever, but when you compare it to something like a Razer HD Gen 2 3 to 18, this is basically 10 ounces heavier than that. And that's a lot of weight. I'll throw one more hat into the ring, the Steiner Military 4 to 16, which comes in a couple ounces lighter despite the fact that it has some Butler Creek caps on it. This is one of the scopes I was talking about in the review, being the exact same magnification and front objective size. I haven't finished this review primarily because I have other scopes to review that get better views and that are sent in to me by viewers most of the time. So stuff like this takes a back seat until I have the time to actually do it. The weight is basically right on par with where it should be for what this is and the price. But then you might be saying, well, okay, so the finish is a little off, not that big of a deal for me at least. The illumination isn't that bright, again, not that big of a deal for me. Maybe the inside components look like dog doo-doo. You'd be wrong. They look absolutely fantastic. They are big and they are beefy. You could see the inside is stainless steel, which is a little hard to see with the light, but there are only the slightest bit of witness marks inside there, despite the fact I've tightened down these Allen keys with a fair amount of force, a little bit more than usual, because I know how big the reluctor is inside of here to be able to take the abuse. So it's not like you're getting something that you have to worry about breaking. Yeah, granted, the zero stop in this is nothing elaborate, but you know what it does? It works. And that's how I'm going to sum this video up. This is a $450 optic that works. It works very well for its price. There are other scopes that you can get around this price that might not function as well as this. Do I think it's on par with something like this? It's one of its competitors? Maybe. Except for in one field. I know I can take this and drop this out of my second floor window right now, and it might get a couple of scratches and dings and whatnot, but it's going to be 100% perfect when I put it back on my gun. This, I can't really say the same for, which is why I would recommend this for smaller caliber rifles or trainers. A 22 LR, this is perfect for, and that's probably where this is going to end up on one of my 22 LRs. But I'm curious to see what kind of wear and tear and abuse this thing will hold up to. So I might be putting this up in line as the next candidate for a torture test video. Of course, I've only done one other torture test before, if you're familiar with my entire channel, and that was on the Vortex Strikefire 2 Red Dot, which withstood way more than I was expecting, and finally gave up the ghost when I was really stupid with it and decided to push its limits. Now, I didn't tell Vortex that I was doing that. I will, however, if I decide to do it, inform Arken that, hey, I'm going to put this through its paces and see what it'll take and if it'll maintain 0 as well as staying together. And if it does that, then for the price, this thing is an absolute home run. These are currently still available. The 6-24s are on back order, at least of the time this video is being produced in mid-September. So if you're thinking about something like this, check out my links in the description below to find out more. And with that, thank you very much to Arken for sending this in. I really appreciate you guys believing in me and believing in your products to the point of reaching out to making sure that everything is perfect. And for all of you haters out there that say that I'm shilling out and saying this is a good product, hopefully this video has proven otherwise. With that, thank you all very much for watching. See you again next time. And a very huge thank you to all of my Patreon providers. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. If you'd like to help support the channel but don't want to join my Patreon, I completely understand. But you can still help support by using my affiliate links in the description below. Thanks again for watching.